Hey everyone, it is Sales Director Kimberly George, and I am super excited that I get to share with you today a little bit about team building. It is one of my favorite things to do with this business. So just a little background about me. I served 20 years in the Navy. I retired 2 years ago. I can't believe it still. I served on ships. I deployed multiple times. I have 3 kids. My daughter is 26. My middle child is 14 and my youngest is 6. And my husband and I, we've been married for, it'll be 16 years this year. And so I started my Mary Kay business 11 years ago while I was on the ship. I became a director. A year later, I earned my first free car in between there as well. And now I've earned 6 free cars, with 2 of them being the pink Cadillac. And so I love team building, and I love passing on the skill to my unit as well so that they can team build without me even having a hand in it. So one thing that I love to do is just do a quick 15-minute sharing call. I know, and this is not even my idea. I got this from Sales Director Megan Coleman, and I'm not sure who she got it from, but I got this from her. It is a 15-minute phone call. That is it to share the opportunity. We don't need a lot of time. We don't need to be like throwing up Mary Kay to someone, right? 15 minutes. And in that 15 minutes, I find out about her. So these are the questions that I would usually ask when I'm getting ready to do my sharing call. So the first question I ask her is, okay, so tell me a little bit about you. And she'll get to talking. Maybe she needs some prompts. What do you like to do? Do you have any kids? Are you married? Once I get that, then the next question I ask is, okay, so let's say you have all of the time in the world and all of the money in the world. What would you want your life to look like? What would you want to do? What would you want to be? What would you want to have? And she answers that question. That's her dream question. Sometimes she might say, oh my gosh, I've never thought about that, which means she has not been dreaming, right? Or she might say, okay, I know, I want to travel. I want to buy a yacht. I want to buy a house for my mom and my kids, right? So that lets me know that she's been dreaming. She has some things that she wants right now. But then it also gives me a good idea of what I need to share about our Mary Kay business opportunity. If she says travel, guess what I'm gonna talk about? The trips that you can earn in Mary Kay. If she says she wants to buy a house, right? Those things cost money. So I'm gonna talk about the money in Mary Kay as well. It just all depends on what it is that she wants. That's why it's only 15 minutes, because I'm not talking about the whole gamut of that. Mary Kay has a lot to offer, right? We don't need to tell people that, because sometimes they're not interested in everything that Mary Kay has to offer. It's just a little snippet, and it's what's in it for them. Like, how can they be impacted? How can they benefit from it? And then the next question I ask is, okay, so what is your experience with Mary Kay, if any at all? And they'll tell me, they might say, oh, I did Mary Kay 10 years ago, or I've never done Mary Kay. I've never even tried the products. I don't know anything about Mary Kay, because I was someone that did not know anything about Mary Kay. I had never tried the products before I started Mary Kay. The girl on the ship with me, she had started her business. She didn't tell me it was Mary Kay. She just said, hey, I want you to listen to this call and tell me what you think. And I'm like, okay. Because if she would have said it was Mary Kay, I would have completely talked her out of the business, and I would have not even started the business. Okay. So sometimes people get on a sharing call and have never experienced Mary Kay, and I was one of those people, right? So we can't count them out. And so once I get those answers, and then I go into just a little of my story, why I started Mary Kay. And I'll tell you, the reason why I started Mary Kay was because I was looking for a way to make some extra money. I needed some money 11 years ago. Daycares were like super expensive. We had got stationed in San Diego, and the daycares are $314 a week. And I was like, we can't pay this. Like, we're not going to pay this. And so my husband decided to stay at home with the kids, and I was at work. I was on the ship all day. And so I needed money 11 years ago. And I did a sharing call, and that's how I started my business. It was through a sharing call. I had not tried the products at all. Of course, I fell in love with the products afterwards, but I started because of a sharing call. And so once I get those questions answered, then I just tell a little bit about me. That way I'm not a stranger to her at all. And then I share based on the answers that she gave me. Okay. And so if she was like, buy a house and I love to travel, then I talk about, we make a 50% profit on everything we sell. So this is really good for anybody who might be looking for an additional stream of income or wanting to add some extra money into your pocket because of that 50% profit that we make on every single item that we sell. And then I'll elaborate a little bit more. And then I might talk about, Mary Kay allows us to earn trips, like free trips. We earn free trips. And the trip this year is to Maui, Hawaii. And oh my gosh, I am so excited. I cannot wait to take my husband on a trip of a lifetime. And then I kind of go into little details of the trip and that kind of stuff. And then I ask her, at the end, once I get done sharing a little bit, based on what she told me, I might talk about, we have no quotas. I might talk about just some facts and things like that about the business opportunity. And then the last question. So these are key questions at the end that I talk about as well. And this all happens in 15 minutes. You might be like, wait, how does this happen in 15 minutes? It's pretty quick, but it's solid because people join because of a sharing call. Now, a lot of the people that are on these sharing calls are people that we have already facialed, or they've been part of a party, or they've possibly watched a sharing video or something like that. So a lot of these are just kind of like a layering call. It's the next step. And that's the sharing call. And so at the end, once I've done shared, and then the next question I ask you is, okay, so what surprised you based on what we talked about? What surprised you? And she might say, oh, I didn't know that you can make a 50% profit. Or I didn't know that Mary Kay had other cars besides the pink Cadillac, or whatever it is, right? Whatever surprised her. And then I might elaborate on her answer a little bit. And then the next question is, okay, so let's pretend that you were to do something like Mary Kay. What would be the reason why? Like, why would you do Mary Kay? Because now I want to know, what would she use this business for? Will she use this business to help get a down payment for her home? Will she use this business because she wants to get a free car? She needs a car. Will she use this business to pay for her kids to go to daycare? Will she use this business to just supplement her income, to be able to pay some bills, to get out of credit card debt, right? What's the reason? So I ask her, what would be the reason? And a lot of times the answer is, because I would like to make some additional income. I would like to be around some positive people. I would like to, right? Whatever her answer is. And I elaborate a little bit on that. Like, yep, you can definitely be around lots of positive women. We have this many women in our organization, and we love to support and encourage. And I just elaborate on her answer just to kind of make her feel like she's been heard. I know exactly what you feel. And then my last question is, okay, so based on what we talked about and the reason why you would get started, is there any reason why we can't send you the registration form for you to get started today? Is there any reason why? That's the key. Is there any reason why? Because a lot of times the first answer is no. Would you like to, right? It's like, oh, no. But if I say, is there any reason why? And you tell me no, that means yes. It's like a play on words, but that means yes. And so, is there any reason why we can't see the registration form for you to get started today? And sometimes there's a pause and they think about it and they're like, you know what? No, there's no reason why. Okay, great. We're so excited. We're sending you the registration form now. And that's if I'm doing a sharing call with a consultant on three-way, or if it's just mine, I'm like, okay, great. I'm sending you the registration form now. I'm so excited. Congratulations. And that's the sharing, right? And so I like to set a goal every single week to do a certain number of sharing calls every single week, or to have a goal to do a certain number of sharing calls every single month. And I track these calls because this is so important to track the calls, right? We talk about attract number grows. So I want you to ask yourself, how many calls, I'm gonna give you a challenge at the end, but I want you to ask yourself, how many calls am I willing to do in a month? How many sharing calls am I willing to do in a month? It's a 15-minute sharing call. And the bulk of the call is the beginning part, where you're asking her the questions and you're letting her elaborate. And then you're just telling her a little snippet based on what she responded and answered to. And then you're asking her those 3 questions at the end, okay? And so the majority is in the beginning. And then there's a small little piece in the middle where you're just sharing a little bit, because the more she talks, right, the more she gets to sell herself on this opportunity herself. And then once you get done, and let's say if she's like, oh, no, I'm not ready yet. Okay, then you always want to be thinking, what's the next step for her? Always have a next step. So if she's like, no, I'm not ready to start yet, or this is just not a good time, or whatever the answer is, it's like, okay, well, what I would like to do is invite you to our next event, which is happening on Monday at 7 o'clock. Are you available on Monday at 7 o'clock? Always, 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 always. That's the key, is to have another event in place, whether it's a virtual event or in-person event, it doesn't matter, but to have a next step for that person, because you want to keep them on your list and you just want to plug them in here and there. What I found is that when people are layered multiple times, that they're like, you know what? I can do this business. I've seen her do it. I've seen her do it. I've heard her from a phone call. I've seen her do it. I've seen her do it. Okay, if she can do it, I can do it, right? And so that's another thing, is you want to have the next step. Now, all of my sharing calls are done via phone. Okay, simple, very simple. A 15-minute phone call. That's it, a 15-minute phone call. And asking the questions, responding, asking questions, responding. 15-minute phone call. And if it's with a consultant, it's on 3-way. With one of my consultants, it's a 3-way phone call, but it is a phone call. It's like old school, right? It is a phone call. So don't be afraid of the phone. Okay. The other thing is, my consultants have heard me do a sharing call 3 or 4 times. And after that, they're ready to go, because it's so simple. If you have the 3 questions in the beginning, you have the 3 questions in the end, and you know a little bit about Mary Kay, then you can share the opportunity with anybody, right? You can share the opportunity with anybody. The 3 questions are important in the beginning, 3 questions at the end, and just a little snippet, right? You know how much money we make. You know we have cars. You know we can earn trips. You know we have no quotas. You know we have no territories, right? So just a little piece of the facts and you will be fantastic. Okay, let me see if there's anything else that I need to tell you about sharing the opportunity. The other thing, you got to be excited. You got to be excited about sharing the opportunity. You can't be timid, like, oh, okay, I want to share the opportunity, but I just don't know. No, you got to be excited about it. They can't even see your face anyway. They need to be able to hear the excitement in your voice, right? Sometimes people will sign and join your team just because you're excited and they feel like you're going somewhere. And they're like, you know what? Like, I want to be a part of this. Like, I don't know what it is, but you're excited. Okay, girl, I want to be a part of this excitement. There's so much crazy stuff happening in the world. If there's somebody that's like super excited about what they're doing and they're like moving and shaking, I want to be a part of what they're doing, right? So you got to be excited about it. You can't be like, okay, so if you had all of the time in the world and all of the money in the world, what would you want your life to look like? No! If you had all of the time in the world and all of the money in the world, what would you want your life to look like? Like, you're going to give her dream come true. Like, that's how you want it to be, right? So you got to be excited about it. You got to have some enthusiasm when you're sharing the opportunity as well, okay? So that's the other thing. Now, here's the challenge. Here's the challenge that I want to give you. I'm going to challenge you to do 5 sharing calls this week. They're only 15 minutes, right? 15 times 5 is what? 75? 5 sharing calls this week. 5 sharing calls this week. And you know, the company average is 1 out of 5 signs up. So 5 sharing calls this week. I am challenging you. Ask the 3 questions in the beginning. You got to be listening though. You got to be listening when you ask those questions. Listen to the answers. Sometimes you might have to ask another question to get more clarity, but you got to listen in order to know when you need to ask another question to get more clarity. And then you just give a little snippets based on what they respond. And then at the end, you ask those 3 questions and see what happens, okay? All right, I hope this helps with team building. I cannot wait to hear how you do with your challenge.